wanna fly high up to the sky. I'm living in the mountains. Everybody know the soil so fertile. If a man sit down naked, the seeds might grow. A delightful getaway from the hustle, bustle and tricks. Oh, what a natural fix if you don't like to mix with the politics. One issue I have to resolve. If I could sort it out, all problems solved. Every time I plant corn and it start to shoot, some idiot keep forking it out the root. Make country flowers in there, fork it up. Make country produce in there, fork it up. Country start to blossom. I don't know who or where they come from. Me blind neighbor say he saw a man resembling one of the politicians. I wasn't there, so I didn't see exactly who talking up me country. Riding on me donkey, transportation bliss. Me fireside bubbling a goodie. I hear rioting in the gas crisis. Surrounded by wild animals. What a vicious pack. But none of them does launch an attack. None of them poison us like invert and sap. The hunt always on, I could say that much. And true, can switch it off like crime watch. My mission now is to put a stop to whosoever fucking me country up. Some say a man named Eric, George, Robbie and Patrick. Some say Capildeo, Paris, Kamla Basteo. Old man Bedu said they said nothing new. They fucking up long before 1962. If Butler was around, he might have tell we directly who fucking up me country.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rebuttal, the voice of the underdog. If you are in St. Kitts and Nevis, it's a pleasure to have you once again. If you are in the St. Kitts and Nevis diaspora, it's also good to have you back with us for another Wednesday evening. I recognize that a significant number of the persons who tune in to the Rebuttal is actually residing outside St. Kitts and Nevis in the diaspora. So tonight I want to send a special shout out to an ardent listener, Miss Linda Paul of St. Paul's Village, but who now resides, I think, in Scarsdale, New York. It's a pleasure to have you every week. I know you only started listening regularly recently, but I'm glad to have you. And yes, I do remember you. And I hope you are keeping a safe distance from the COVID and enjoying yourself over there in New York. Tonight I want to remind you of a few things before I get into the meat of the matter that I'm going to discuss this evening. And here are a couple of points. The Social Security Fund is under grave attack by the government and by the administration in the Social Security. But then again, you voted for that. And I suspect that's why I'm one of the few voices mentioning that. Meanwhile, corruption is still rampant in government. some people still thieving and some people taking. But again, you voted for that. The economy is sinking rather than rebounding. But you voted for that. As it turns out, people who are getting a paycheck from government are doing fairly okay. But those who are not getting a paycheck, you're catching your royal tail. But then again, you voted for that. Marriott workers are still not yet sorted out. But most of them voted for that kind of treatment. I am going to play you a little ditty right now by Lord Black, just as a reminder of a question I find myself asking every day when I hear some people complain.
What are you calling for? For what are you for?
No, that was funny. I love that song. And you know what I'm going to do this evening? I am going to use that song in its entirety to close out the show this evening. I want to send a shout out to Lord Black. I understand that Lord Black has not been keeping well for some time, but I just want to say a little shout out to Lord Black. You know, I didn't even realize that Lord Black was already 70 plus years. The man looks well. I didn't even realize he was around that long. But I think that was in part why he was so knowledgeable about so many different things. So, Lord Black, I want you to keep well. Today, we lost a musical icon in the personage of King Ayatollah. I knew his mom well. His mom died maybe 2-3 years ago in St. Croix. She was married to my first cousin, Pink Walters from Keon. So I knew her, and I actually stayed at their house in St. Croix when I went to the funeral. And so my condolences go out to all of the remaining family of King Ayatollah, and I hope you find solace and comfort in the memories of the bad boy king, a Calypsonian extraordinaire, and he will be greatly missed. Now, this evening, I want to take on an issue, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. It'll probably take up most of the show, if not all the show this evening. Well, let me start off by telling you this. When an individual runs for office or parliament in an election in St. Kitts and Nevis and loses, he or she cannot be put into parliament. You cannot bring that person through the back door and put them into parliament. In other words, he or she cannot be rewarded for his or her failure to win a seat by being made a senator. If you are going to become a senator, you couldn't have run in the election and lost. Senatorial seats are reserved for persons who did not run and lose in the election. There is a practice, though, in St. Kitts, and I suspect anywhere else in the Caribbean, that rewards these failed candidates with other jobs in the government. Recently, you realize that a couple of guys were made ambassadors. And I can't really argue with that move, except that the person should be competent to do the job you're asking them to do. And this is nothing new under this government. This is something that most governments have done. When they lose, they give their comrades, their friends, and so forth a job. And like I said, I can't argue with that. But I don't understand. Why would you take an individual, a fellow who has failed miserably at his job, so much so that the people of his constituency voted him out of office? Why would you turn around and give that individual the job at which he just failed so miserably? Patches was the minister with responsibility for projects, government projects. He was the Minister of Public Works. There were a number of projects undertaken by Public Works. In other words, Patches generally directed and oversaw several projects. And as you will see in a little bit, Patches has hardly completed a successful project in the 5 years he was in office. And you would think that as a loud and often obnoxious person as he's been, you would think that he would have done a much better job. And it's turned out he failed worse than anyone of his colleagues. His record was the worst. And so that is why he was the only one in Team Unity to lose his seat. Because with all the cheating and with all the buying of votes and with all the people that snuck in from Santo Domingo, he still lost his seat in constituency number 1. How poorly or how poor of a candidate must you have been to be the only one to have lost that way? Now, he's asking the courts to help him out and to restore his former seat. But let us examine his record. We're going to examine his record. But in the meantime, I'm going to pause here. And then when we come back on the other side, we're going to look at Patches' record, because you got to understand that people don't just say this and say that, you know. What I like to do is I like to back up what I'm saying with the facts, or as I would like to say, with the intelligence. So I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to address some further issues having to do with Patches.
I love being in the latest style and dress fine, or should I say classy. That is why I shop at First Class next to the taxi stand at Port Sante for fine gold and silver jewelry in precious, semi-precious and colored stones, diamond and crystal watches, and the hottest handbags and wallets. And when I want to buy a gift for someone, that's easy too. I just ask them to make me a gift basket, and First Class has the best prices at Port Zante. So no matter what the occasion, come on into First Class and leave happy, knowing you've gotten the best deal for your money. It's First Class at Port Zante, where quality, low prices, and top-notch service are second to none.
Spread the word. New and exclusive every Sunday from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Gospel Cafe with Carl D. Springate on KYSS FM 102.5. Tune in and connect with the Holy Ghost Connection with live interviews, Christian news, what's hot and what's not, in the now. Birthdays and anniversary shout-outs available, Bible Jeopardy, Beyond the Pulpit, and positive entertainment and ministry. Testimonies and the pastor's moment with Spread the Word. So tune in as we drop the latest gospel hits, 100% flat. It's the Carl D. Springate Gospel Cafe, Sundays from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KYSSFMonline.com and 102.5 FM. And be blessed like that.
One fashion accessories for really low prices. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Beauty supplies and weave, genuine fragrances. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Handbags so beautiful, your friends will envy how you look. With perfume to smell just right, you'll feel like you're in paradise. Watches, silver jewelry, and hair accessories. Check silver and cents in the Amri Mall on Deon Street.
Ready or not, hear my club, can't hide. Gonna find you and make you want me.
Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing.
I'm Shaniel Francis.
And I'm Dijon Webb.
Kyssfm 102.5 is proud to announce its brand new morning show, Backchat, the only place to hear the hottest music.
From local
Check me area code, me area code. Anywhere me go, you know me touch the
to international.
Ay, I go shopping, want it then I cop it. Ay, yeah, bitches popping, I do what they copy.
and have you informed with a range of topics.
tell me nothing.
So on Mondays to Fridays, tune in at 8 to 11.
Tell me nothing.
You won't want to miss the vibes on
Backchat.
Ready or not, hear my club.
I wanna fly high up to the sky. I'm living in the mountains. Everybody know the soil so fertile. If a man sit down naked, the seeds might grow. They're delightful getaway from the hustle, bustle, and tricks. Oh, what a natural fix if you don't like to mix with the politics. One is you I have to resolve. If I could sort it out, all problems solved. Every time I plant corn and it start to shoot, some idiot keep forking it out the root. Make country flowers in it, fork it up. Make country produce in it, fork it up. Country start to blossom. I don't know who or where they come from. Me blind neighbor say he saw a man resembling one of the politicians. I wasn't there, so I didn't see exactly who forking up me country.
So welcome back to the Rebuttal. I'm Douglas Wattley, your host. Let us continue by examining the record of the former minister with responsibility for public works. Now, public works is a projects ministry. Most, if not all, government's projects of a construction nature come under Public Works. And so the minister with responsibility for Public Works has ultimate oversight of projects in the government. Now, to examine what has happened in this ministry and in the government with respect to projects over the past 5 years, we're going to use a criterion that comprises or is comprised of about 3 elements. Could be 4, but we'll only concentrate on 3. And these elements are time, cost, and quality. We're going to evaluate Patch's success on timeliness, cost, and or quality. Don't worry, I'm going to explain to you what I mean in a manner that you can comprehend. So let us take the first aspect of the project, time or timeliness or timely completion of a project. Every project has a definite start and end time. That's how you differentiate a project from a program. A program doesn't necessarily have an end date. It's ongoing. But a program may comprise several different projects. For instance, the St. Kitts housing program undertaken by NHC comprises of several projects, because if you are building a housing project in Keon, say at Spooners, that particular activity has a start date and an end date. But it is, when it's completed, a part of a larger number of projects called a program, because it's ongoing. The housing program has been going on for years, but each project only lasts for a specific time. And so that is important for you to understand. There are methods for calculating the time frame for a project or the duration of a project. The duration being the period between the start and end of a particular project. And you can calculate that. One such method is the CPM, critical path, right? You can tell how long a project is supposed to last. And you could do it fairly well, because you are going to be able to take into consideration externalities like the weather, etc. Now, I want you to tell me, if you could, one project that Patches brought in on time. Take your time. Tell me one project that he brought in, he completed on time. Okay, let's look at a couple of them. The blue houses coming into Bastia from Keon. Those are still not completed. They are not issued. They're still not completed. Those projects have not been closed out. And let's face it, they're becoming an eyesore, because when a building is not occupied, it becomes an eyesore. Let us look at the pier, the second cruise pier. That was not completed in time. It still ain't finished. And now you got people wondering if it will ever be finished. Think about the bus terminal. The bus terminal should have been completed by last December. We are going into a next December, and I understand it's just about getting ready for completion. Didn't meet the time requirement. The Island Main Road, some people say still ain't finished. That went well over the time that it should have been completed. The road down Old Road Bay still hasn't been completed. The deadline has long since passed. Maybe that one gonna be completed in time for the next election, but it ain't done yet. So those projects have failed to meet the requirement of a timely completion. That's a failure. And I'll tell you why it's important for projects to be completed on time. Because you have always heard the saying, time is money. And as it turns out, every day that these projects are not completed, it is costing the government more money. And that money is actually wasted money. I don't have to make the case that projects have suffered not only from time overruns, but also cost overruns. And the cost overruns have been in the millions of dollars because, like I just said, time is money. So, but let us still do it. Let us look at the issue of cost. Let us look at the issue of cost. These projects are draining the treasury. And now the government, Timothy Harris, has the gall to put Patches in charge of special projects. Patches ain't special enough to be on no special project. He may be special ed, but he has failed in project management. So in the second instance, he has wasted money and he has cost the government money. He has failed on timeliness and on cost with respect to projects that he oversaw. Think about it. The pier is costing the government millions of dollars because it has not been completed. And the fact that it has not been completed means it cannot be used the way it is intended. And so the pier has cost money. I understand that Kyssfm had projected that the bus terminal, would cost about $500,000. That's $500,000. I understand that up to this point, they have spent somewhere in the region of $2.3 million on the bus terminal. That's a lot of money over the estimate. The project up at the airport, the resurfacing project, that has gone over budget as well. The road has gone over budget. Old Road has gone over budget. Every single project that has been undertaken has gone over budget. Then there is the failure on the quality aspect of the project as well. For quality of work, what we mean is that the project is fit for use. You could use it and you can enjoy its use. It also means that it is fit for its intended purpose. What you had planned to use it for, you are able to use it for. So when we consider the second cruise pier, which for all intents and purposes was designed and built to accommodate huge ships. Turns out they can't. It's not fit for the purpose it was intended. And that is a sad situation. That is what we call failure on a grand scale. That project didn't only have time and cost overruns, it has a poor quality problem, or a problem of poor quality. Now you are paying for what you didn't bargain. Quality means you met the requirements and specifications you set out in the project at the outset. But now the piece spoil. And that is on patches. That is on patches. The road at Old Road doesn't only suffer from time and cost overruns, but every time they try to put down the road, it's splitting, it's cracking. It ain't working. Oh, and don't talk about the flooding that was noticed the other day when the rains came through. The drainage was put in poorly, I am understanding. And so the place is flooded. But who has to pay for all this? We have to pay for all this. And in this time when money is of utmost importance, why are we wasting money on projects that have gone awry because the person who was overseeing the project didn't do a good job? Now you are telling me you're going to put that person in charge of more projects. They had quality problems at the airport, I told you as well. They had put down some road up there and they had to take it up. It was done poorly. They had to do it over. All this is on patches. All this is on patches. You don't only have time and cost overruns on those blue houses coming into Bastille. I mean, from K-On. But they too were poorly designed. If not poorly built, they were poorly designed. Somebody is going to get a heat stroke and die inside of them buildings, you know. How in the name of heavens you going to build those buildings without adequate ventilation, without adequate windows? You know, Patches likes to boast that he's a stickler for correctness. It sounds nice. But didn't he see those designs before he gave the go-ahead? Didn't he look to see the houses, what they were looking like when they were going up? To stop it, nip it in the bud before he got this far? And by the way, why haven't these houses been given out as yet? I have two arguments. One, I am hearing that they owe the contractor, and as such, the contractor not giving up the keys. If you owe the contractor and he got the keys to hand over to close out the project, and you ain't paying him, well, why he gonna give you the keys? So I hear that that's one of the problems. The other problem is that they promised so many people one of these apartments that they are now afraid to show people that they were fooled, that they were bamboozled, that they were lied to. A whole bunch of these Spanish people supposed to get house, they were promised. Now, they're afraid to give them out because they're afraid the backlash. Now, I'm telling you that it is a sad situation that we find ourselves in. Now, Remember I said that Scaspa allocated about $500,000 for the bus terminal because they thought it should be completed by last December. And now we are well into the year. We are in the second half of the year. And they have already spent something like $2.3 million, right? But that's not the worst of it, you know. The Scaspa that Patches oversaw, I'm told that organization is presently losing $3 million a month. $3 million a month they're losing. And I understand that the payroll is about $1 million per month. But here is a question. Is it true that the minister racked up more than $1 million in unnecessary trips? Staying in some expensive hotel like $500 a night and flying first class every time? Is that true? And all the time the organization is in dire straits? Is $90 million they borrow from Social Security the other day? I don't tell her how you fix it so that Social Security doesn't give any government organization a damn cent. Because the organizations are not well run. When these ministers of government do not stand by and let the technocrats run these organizations, when these ministers become too involved in areas where they are not technically competent, you end up in problems. What a mess. And so now he wants to not only get back in government, you go on and put him in charge of special projects. What a thing. Why would any government do something like that? Government could do better. Government has better, smarter, more qualified, more capable people already in the service. Let me ask Sean a question, because you see, Sean is now Minister of Public Works. Why wouldn't Sean put somebody like Eartha Shiverton? She's from Sandy Point. Why you wouldn't put somebody like Eartha Shiverton as PS with responsibility for public works? She is one of our best and brightest. I didn't ask her permission to mention her name, so I'm going to apologize right now. But she's one of our best and our brightest. And she has a master's degree in project management. And she is the only professional project management specialist in St. Kitts. And she has no projects to manage. No projects to manage. And you put in all these jokers who don't have an inclination about what a project is and how to manage a project in charge of special projects. And she's as smart as a whip, as competent as they come. But I don't know if she upset somebody, because for as long as I know, she has not been allowed to use her capabilities in the public service. I remember one time years ago, I asked her how long she in the service. No, I asked her how she was doing, and she started by telling me how many years, months, days, and hours she had left until retirement. And I said to myself, oh boy, You don't need nobody in the service to be that frustrated. And she's capable, man. She good. She good. Right? But we don't care about getting things done right in the public service. On that note, I'm going to take a pause and then I'm going to come back. I might even talk about that issue a little bit more. But I'm going to come back right after this.
I love being in the latest style and dress fine, or should I say classy. That is why I shop at First Class next to the taxi stand at Port Sante for fine gold and silver jewelry in precious, semi-precious and colored stones, diamonds and crystal watches, and the hottest handbags and wallets. And when I want to buy a gift for someone, that's easy too. I just ask them to make me a gift basket, and First Class has the best prices at Port Sante. So no matter what the occasion, come on into First Class and leave happy, knowing you've gotten the best deal for your money. It's First Class at Port Sante, where quality, low prices, and top-notch service are second to none.
Spread the word. New and exclusive every Sunday from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Gospel Cafe with Carl D. Springate on KYSS FM 102.5. Tune in and connect with the Holy Ghost Connection with live interviews, Christian news, what's hot and what's not in the now. Birthdays and anniversary shout-outs available, Bible Jeopardy, Beyond the Pulpit, and positive entertainment and ministry. Testimonies and the pastor's moment with Spread the Word. So tune in as we drop the latest gospel hits, 100% flat. It's the Carl D. Springate Gospel Cafe, Sundays from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KYSSFMonline.com and 102.5 FM. And be blessed like that.
One fashion accessories for really low prices. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Beauty supplies and weave, genuine fragrances. Check silver and cents. Check silver and cents. Handbags so beautiful, your friends will envy how you look. With perfume to smell just right, you'll feel like you're in paradise. Watches, silver jewelry, and hair accessories. Check silver and cents in the Amri Mall on Keon Street.
Ready or not, hear my clothes, can't hide. Gonna find you and make you want me.
Ain't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
I'm Shaniel Francis.
And I'm Dijon Webb.
Kyssfm 102.5 is proud to announce its brand new morning show, Backchat, the only place to hear the hottest music.
From local
Check the area code, direct me area code. Anywhere me go, you know me touch the
to international.
Ay, I go shopping, want it then I cop it. Ay, yeah, bitches popping, I do what they copy.
and have you informed with a range of topics.
tell me nothing.
So on Mondays to Fridays, tune in at 8 to 11.
Tell me nothing.
You won't want to miss the vibes on
Backchat.
Ready or not, hear my clothes.
I wanna fly high up to the sky. I'm living in the mountains. Everybody knows the soil so fertile. If a man sit down naked, the seeds might grow. A delightful getaway from the hustle, bustle and tricks. Oh, what a natural fix if you don't like to mix with the politics. One issue I have to resolve. If I could sort it out, all problems solved. Every time I plant corn and it start to shoot, some idiot keep fucking it out the root. Make country flowers in it, fuck it up. Make country produce in it, fuck it up. Country start to blossom. I don't know who or where they come from. Me blind neighbor say he saw a man resembling one of the politicians. I wasn't there, so I didn't see exactly who fucking up my country.
Welcome back to the rebuttal. I'm Douglas Wattley, your host. Now, if we go back to something we were talking about just a little bit ago, if it is true, and I have it on good account, that the port, Casper, is losing $3 million a month with a $1 million a month salary for all staff. It appears to me that you're headed in a direction when the port is going to have to make some serious cuts. But I don't think they have anybody now who's going to spend millions of dollars on travel, etc. But it appears to me that the port is headed in a direction where it would have to make cuts. Think about it. Because the port, like I said, had not been doing well for a while. And so they have had to take money from Social Security. If you're losing money at the rate at which you're losing it, one of the few things you have left is to cut. Cut operations costs. And one such cost is going to be to cut staff. I'm only giving you all a heads up. All right? Somebody has to go in there and look seriously at how to save the organization. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. But it has to be addressed. Now, having said that, I was engaged in a little conversation on Facebook about pensions for statutory corporations. And it, quite frankly, is sad that up until today, statutory corporations do not have pension schemes. It's sad. And it's not just this government to blame. The former government has to be blamed. I recall that the former government had made plans or had started looking into getting pension schemes for all of the statutory corporations. And somehow that went awry. But it's something that has to be looked into. When I was named chairperson of the ZBC board in 2015, there were a couple of things that I did when I got there. Once my board was settled, a couple of things we started looking at. Because one of the problems we faced was the ZBC had debts all over the place, and ZBC owed the government a lot of money. Well, I wasn't too worried about what ZBC owed. In time, those are things you would look after, but there were some things that needed urgent attention. One, in the 2 years prior to me getting there, they had lost somewhere in the region of $1 million. 1 year was 400 and something thousand. The other year was 500 and something thousand. Right? 2 consecutive years, they had lost money. And so that was one of the first things we had to look at. You had to stem the losses. Right? The other problem that was obvious was that the staff was underpaid. The staff was underpaid. In my mind, ZBC was kind of like abandoned. Not under this government, under the last government. All right? They weren't treated well. And I'm going to tell you this right now. When it comes to the salary issue. You had an individual who was brought in who was making more than $10,000 a month. Nobody else was making even half of that. You understand what I'm saying? That individual was being paid more than the general manager. Now, you can't do them things. Those are the things that people get upset about. That ain't this government. That was the last government. You can't do them things. You understand? Fortunately for me, the individual had left by the time I came in as the chairman of the board, because I would have had to do some kind of rectification. Is that a word? Rectification? I would have had to rectify the situation, but the individual had left. But I was still faced with the fact that persons in the organization were poorly paid. And I'm going to tell you something else. Some of those persons with degrees up there still are not being paid properly. Some of them are being paid in part from STEP and in part from the organization. That has to be fixed. And so I was able to upgrade the salaries for everybody. You understand? And make it a little bit more palatable. Probably not what it's supposed to be, but it was made a little bit more palatable. But here is the problem. The problem is the same as it is at NHC, the same as it is at Port, the same as it is at Solid Waste Management Corporation. And this is not a difficult problem to fix. The people need to have some form of a pension scheme. Now that there is the reason, one of the reasons why I'm disappointed that I departed the board as prematurely as I had, because I had plans. I had plans to make that particular organization the shining light on the hill in St. Kitts. One of the things we did as a board, we put together a team and we went down to TDC. We went to TDC because I am familiar with what TDC does. So we went to TDC and the HR department walked us through their pension program. And we came back and we put together a hybrid, or should I say, we borrowed liberally from the TDC model. And we put together a plan which we wanted to implement for ZBC. It would have cost, when we did the calculation, because it's a contributory plan where each employee would put in X amount, I think it might have been 3%, right? Up to a certain percent that we would match. But ZBC would match what we agreed that you would put in. So if you put in 3%, ZBC would match the 3%. And I don't think we went too much higher than that. And it meant that we would have had a scheme which over the years would build up funds so that when each and any individual decided to leave ZBC, they would be able to take a lump sum home, just like government has a gratuity. They would be able to take a lump sum home, and then the remainder would be paid to them as a monthly annuity. It would have only cost ZBC $25,000 a month. That ain't no money. I mean, a year, sorry. That ain't no load of money for no corporation in St. Kitts. And it would have been something that the employees would have liked to see. And we had even discussed backfilling it so that I mean, it would appear as if it started maybe 10 years prior. Those were some of the discussions we were having. I am saying right now that the government should think seriously. I know right now you might say things are hard, right? But you ought to think very seriously about putting in place these types of facilities so that when individuals would leave, that we are not sending people back into a life of poverty when they leave an organization. Right now, I mean, people are upset because when they spend 20, 30, 40 years in an organization and they leave nothing for it. When I was in the Ministry of Health, when I had only just returned home, I encountered a situation where an individual had worked, a non-establishment worker had worked in the ministry for years. And then they walk into my office and they say, Mr. Wattley, you mean to tell me you're going and I get nothing? After all these years, me talk about a lot of years, you know. And that touched me. Because I said to myself, that individual is right. And so I broached the subject with the power that be. And then the government had introduced what they call a compassionate gratuity. And so some people were able to walk away after that with a compassionate gratuity, which amounts to, I think, 1 week's pay for every year that you worked. That's where that came from. Under the Labour government implemented that, right? It is that same type of thinking that I have always been a proponent of these statutory corporations having some kind of pension scheme. For want of a better word, for its employees. I think it's something that needs to be looked into, right? I am now at a place where you guys voted in the government. And so I cannot not make recommendations which may turn out to make them look good. My thing is that I want a better life for the people in St. Kitts, and it really doesn't matter which government is in power, especially now that you voted them back in. You understand? I can't do nothing about that. And so one of my recommendations right now is that the government should seriously contemplate it. I know Don Grant broached that issue on Facebook today, and we had a little exchange. And so I want to echo what he is thinking, that people in the statutory corporation they must have a system that benefits them after years of service. Seems to me only to be a sensible thing to do. All right? Hey guys, as it turns out, tonight I'm only doing this hour. Sorry if you're disappointed, but I gotta go. Got something else I need to attend to. So I'm gonna do the hour this evening. Usually when I give you the 15 minutes extra, that's just a bonus, eh? So you can't vex with me if I only give you an hour tonight. That's what we bargained for. That's what me and you contracted to do. But every now and again, when I feel generous, I give you a little 15 minutes. So this evening I'm gonna leave you with this song in full by Lord Black, right? I don't even know what the song name. All I know, song say, what are you bawling for? For what are you a ball? I want you to listen to the lyrics, because even though we say cans can't sing, and even though cans songs them used to be very long, listen to the lyrics. Cans make sense. Cans make sense. You understand? And so I'm going to bid you all a good evening, and we'll talk again next week. Y'all take care now.
crime and the permissiveness in the society. Hey, you give me TV, you give me cable, you also give me pornography. You give me drugs, you give me guns, you also give me a modern telephonic connection. Plus you bloody well know where there are progressive tendencies, there are rises in criminal activity. There are rises in criminal activity. Helicopter over the area. What are you calling for? Why is it as soon as the crime done, the police hurry come? What are you calling for? You see, nobody concentrates on preventative measures. Nobody gives a damn about the very roots of the problem. What are you calling for? For what? Are you about? I saw mother working here tonight. Yes, man. Hey! Hey! You educate in school. You inflicted that golden rule. You made sure I didn't become a fool. You gave me ideas. You gave me hope. You gave me reasons to regard you as a role model. I followed your leadership. I followed your example. But now the both of us end up in trouble. Helicopter over the entire area. What are you calling for? Why is it as soon as the explosion, the police hurry come? What are you calling for? Nobody concentrates on the preventative measures. Nobody gives a damn about the very root of the problem. What? All you in here falling for all you are born. I wouldn't fall. I saw. I just don't want to be critical without offering a couple of solutions. Start anti-drug classes, build rehabilitation centers, and cable ought to be carefully monitored. And the police should manifest a true symbol of honest impartiality. And the same police ought to share more information with the press and the rest of the community. For in the final analysis, it's we, the same people, they're coming for help with the investigative inquiry. Are you I guess you also gave me reasons to regard you as a role model. And now, today, look, they know both of us end up in trouble. Scotland Yard, all over Sadler's area. Bradshaw, what? You ballin' far. Why is it as soon as the crime done, them police hurry come? What? Are you ballin' far? You see, nobody concentrates on preventative measures. Nobody gives a damn about the roots of the problem. So what? Why you balling for? For what? All you are born. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Yes, man.